Wears many hats, director, producer, writer. He's produced about 29 works and directed about 15 works, including films, series, and documentary films. His films have been acclaimed and awarded at festivals worldwide, including at Cannes and Toronto festivals, and include Udaan, Lutera, Bhavesh Joshi Superhero, Trapped, Sacred Games, the series, Jubilee, and his new animation documentary, Indira's Emergency, which is on this festival, in this Geomami Mumbai Film Festival, and he's on the board of this festival as well. Please give him a big hand welcoming him. Thank you. Mostofa Sarwar Farooqi. None of these people really need an introduction, but I'm just mentioning for younger people in the audience who may not be familiar with their work. He is director, producer, writer. He's directed about 26 works, produced about 13 works, including films and series, which are also acclaimed, awarded at top festivals worldwide. Television was one of his films, which was a closing film at the Busan Festival. He made Do No Bed of Roses with our very beloved late Irfan Khan. He made No Man's Land. Bangladesh, US, Australia, collaboration, co-production. He made a series, a very strong, powerful feminist series, Ladies and Gentlemen. And he made now something like an autobiography, which played at Busan and is here at the Geomami Mumbai Film Festival. Please give him a warm welcome. I'd like to mention here his wonderful, wonderful actress, star wife, Nusrat Imroz Tisha, who is also here at our festival. I don't know if she's here at the audience thought. She's also here with, she's also the star of Mujib, The Making of a Nation by Sham Benegal, and big release opening this week. And also, I mean, they have had a long relationship, working relationship with India, which we can also explore later. And then comes Prasanna Vithanage, very senior director. He is director, producer, writer from Sri Lanka. He has a body of work of about 11 films acclaimed at top festivals worldwide, including, I apologize if I mispronounce, but I really want to own it in the original language, Purahanda Kaluara, Death on a Full Moon Day, Ira Madiyama, August Sun, Akashakusum, Flowers of the Sky, Oba Natua, Oba Ekka, With You, Without You, which is a lot of his films are Indo-Sri Lankan co-productions. Silence in the Courts, Her, Him, The Other, Gadi, Children of the Sun, and now Paradise, fresh from its win of the Kim Ji-seok Award at the Busan Film Festival, and now at the Geomami Mumbai Film Festival. Very, very, very interesting. Again, a collaboration between Sri Lanka, India, and the US. So very interesting how they are, all of our neighbors are expanding their markets and finding new audiences. He's always been very inventive and resourceful. And not only does he have a US producer, but it was also presented by Madras Talkies. So many, many feathers in his hat. Please give him a warm welcome. We have Gurvinder Singh, who has a body of about 6 films which are acclaimed and awarded at top festivals worldwide, including Cannes and Venice, including Anhe Goreda Dan, Arms for a Blind Horse, Chauthi Koot, Fourth Direction, Khanor, Bitter Chestnut, Ad Chanini Raat, Crescent Night, and now his new documentary, Trolley Times, on the farmers' protest movement, which is currently showing at the Geomami Film Festival. Please give him a very warm welcome. And Nabin Subadai from Nepal. He's director and writer of about 15 works, including Numa Fung, Goodbye Kathmandu, a very popular series Dalan on Dalit issues, and now Gao Aiko Bato, A Road to a Village, that had a triple whammy. It was at the Toronto Film Festival, TIFF, it was at Busan, and now at the Geomami Film Festival. Please give him a very big hand. This is wonderful. I would also like to acknowledge, I think there should be in the audience, his Hong Kong-based producer, Amod Rai. Will you please stand up and, yeah, we'd like to know who you are. Thank you. Pashupati Rai, lead actress, is she here? Please stand up. We'd like to welcome you. And anyone else from the team. All the other team members who are here also for joining us. Thank you very much. So a couple of key questions that I will request each of the filmmakers to reflect on. I think I'd like to ask them a few, 2 or 3 films that were the most successful in their careers or were the most awful, horrific failures, how they dealt with those challenges, what lessons they learned. I would like to ask them how they found their producers, I would like them to acknowledge the producers' names because very often producers are nowhere on the scene when there are awards being given. They're not always on stage. We don't know their names, but they enable their careers. They often take risks. I'd like them to acknowledge some of them. I'd like you to reflect on share us a little about how you found your distributors and your audiences in your home countries, in India, overseas, what you learned from those lessons, lessons learned from them, and also to name your distributors, so we also would like to acknowledge them. And also the challenges of making films in our neighboring countries, which is quite different from the challenges of making films in India, and you'll find them. And the last is what, um, what guidance would you give young filmmakers in the audience? So, Vikramaditya Motwane. That's a lot.
Oh, yeah, all of those together.
Just flow, yeah. I mean, just flow and then, everyone can respond.
So okay, I think experiences in terms of, I'll just go with first and most recent because I think so Udaan was my first film, which was produced by Anurag, as most people know, but
So Anurag Kashyap.
Anurag Kashyap, sorry, Kashyap. There's only two of them anyway. So Anurag, I mean, we've known each other for a while. I helped him on Panch. I was directing his songs and his sounds. We both worked together on Deepa Mehta's Water, actually, which is where we met for the first time and became good friends and have always been bouncing stuff off each other. So Anurag, this is after Devdi released. I was kind of struggling to find a producer. And Devdi releases. Anurag gets a lot of phone calls about, do you want to produce anything? And he says, yes, there's this film that I've read that I really want to produce. And that's how it happened. So it was Anurag and it was Sanjay Singh who put the money in, was also the co-producer. Interesting personality, yeah, I will say. No, I have to say, you do meet producers, or they call themselves producers. You do meet financiers who want to invest in films, and for whatever reason they want to do it. Sometimes it's to see their name up in lights or whatever it is. But that doesn't bother me as long as I think they're investing in the movies. I think that's the important thing. I think the ambition of a producer is today the most important thing for filmmakers because that's the only thing that actually helps indie films kind of get along. UTV Spotboy came on board to distribute that, and I really have to sort of like thank them for that because it was a moment in time when this is now 13 years ago where I think that there was a genuine push to have that Indian cinema kind of be seen by a local audience and an international audience. I think we've lost a bit of that along the way, which we can, of course, that's a day-long discussion as to why that's happened. So yes, thank you to all of them for Udaan, and it also continues to be not in a financial sense, but I think in an emotional sense and in a sense of legacy, my biggest success because I still have people coming up to me today to talk about how much the film means to them. So that's the first, then Indira's Emergency being the most recent, where it's been something that's been a struggle to make because it's a documentary, it's archival, it's something we started off doing 3-4 years ago. We had backing, and then the backing backed out because it's political, and so therefore people kind of get scared, and you're like, no, let's just finish this. And I finished the cuts, and I approached Samir and I at Applause, and he loved it, and Applause and Samir decided to back it, so thanks to them. And some of the team is sitting right here. So thanks to them for really coming on board to end up finishing something which has become a rarity in today's world. I think there's a lot of wonderful films.
Sorry, can you tell us a little about it? Because I'm not sure everyone has seen it, and it's deeply political and very daring. So tell us a little about it.
So Indira's Emergency it's actually started off as a 3-part series, which we wanted to make about the emergency, which with only archival footage and with some animation to fill in the gaps of the moments that I think were very, very important and as to why they got made. So it's something that I was kind of steadfast to say, I don't want to do a talking heads docu. I wanted to do something with archival, something with, phone calls that we've had speaking to people and have animation fill in those, as I said. So the version screening at Mami is a film version, which has sort of made the 3 episodes into 3 chapters. But yes, it's a pretty in-depth, almost kind of pop culture-ish sort of like look at the emergency in a sense of like, what would you do if you had to sort of like really put someone who had either no clue about it to just sit down and watch it and be almost, borderline entertained for about an hour, because it is a very entertaining period in India's history if you have to see it from that lens. The 50 years, I think, helps us sort of look at it from a slightly entertaining perspective. But also, it's a great deep dive for people who are history buffs, who have a, which is exactly what I was when I was like, okay, I want to make this. And then the more research we did, we got into it. It was wonderful. So, so please, it's screening on the 3rd at Regal if anyone wants to go see it.
Thank you for sharing that. We could, of course, have questions, I think, a little later after we have a first round, and we would really welcome that as well. Farooqida, please. You want me to, you're kind of, actually, it's really about your career journeys and a few key points.
I actually forgot the questions because I was so sincerely listening to Vikramaditya. Yeah, I mean, it happens. I forgot the question paper. Oh, I mean, okay, let me try to remember what was the question. Okay, so I started my career, well, I mean, I start with what are the challenges in Bangladesh. So the biggest challenge is actually India. India as in like, yeah, we know that India is a big filmmaking country. And so because of Indian filmmaking, like two kind of filmmaking, one is Bollywood and the other one is Kolkata art house. So yeah, I mean, in Bangladesh, people only know that, okay, this can be called cinema if it looks like either any of the Bollywood films or any of Satyajit Ray films. So I mean, this was dangerous, but I think we are post 90s generation. So we grew up after. I mean, there was a big, kind of people's revolution in '90, and after that we started to look for our identity. Like I mean, well, I mean, India is our neighbor, they are our friends, but we are not Indians. We have our own way of expressing our emotions. I mean, our own way of telling our stories. Then why don't we have this in our cinema? And then we started telling stories on television. Television as in like for series and whatever with 200,000 taka budget. I mean like a shoestring. But then this really helped us. I mean, it helped us grow a huge young audience in Bangladesh. I'm just a filmmaker. I don't deserve this, but you know, if I go out on the street, people flock to me, come to take selfies, which is all, I mean, it all belongs to that television revolution. And this is the audience, they actually followed us in theater. So when we started making films for theater, surprisingly, those were like housefuls and people are fighting for tickets. And I clearly remember in 2010, when I was screening my film Third Person Singular, so there was a NetPack seminar there. So Philip Chi asked us, all the filmmakers, he invited 10 filmmakers from 10 different countries of Asia. He said, can you please make a 3-minute or 5-minute short documentary or short film, whatever, on the climate of your filmmaking scene in Bangladesh, or in your country. So at the time, Third Person got released and I was being bashed heavily. One group was saying that this guy is blasphemous. And other group was saying, oh, he's a great guy. And I didn't understand what am I, because I was totally confused seeing these reactions. Then I decided, okay, fine, let's do it. Let's make a short docu-fiction on the reactions that I'm getting. And I recorded it, and in that short docu-fiction, there was a clippings where thousands of people are going to the theaters fighting for tickets. So when they watched it in Rotterdam, after the seminar, Philip Che came to me and said, Farooq, do you want me to believe that this many people can go to watch Third Person Singular? I said, yeah, they did. Then he said, but you know, Omkar, why is not lucky in that sense? Because he doesn't have this audience. I said, you know why? Because we have huge population. Like our population increases on a like rocket rate. So that is the reason why you have audience. Yes, same. So yeah, I mean, I would say that post 90, I mean, whatever changes that you are seeing right now in Bangladesh, you know, we are not yet a new wave, but I'm sure we're going in that direction. A lot of younger filmmakers are coming up with very interesting films. And this all happened because of this television and now OTT revolution. So this is what I think I wanted to tell about Bangladesh and my journey. And what is the next question of my most successful and failure? Well, apparently the most successful film is television. It is because it got huge international success. It was the closing film of Busan, got grand jury from APSA and many other festivals, Dubai and others. Failure, I don't know.
Can you make a moment? For those who haven't seen it, I just want to share. It's an exquisite film. It's one of my favorites films. But essentially, it's about, it's actually taking on Islamic fundamentalism in a very delicate, satirical, very, very funny way. And that's a real skill and really courageous in his country. Please give him a very big hand for extraordinary courage
Oh, thank
and
you.
doing it so cleverly. Please continue.
And as for failure, I wouldn't say failure because I think as an artist, our job is to, we are the witness of time and space. So our job is to confess on the screen that whatever time we're living in. So, I mean, we are just confessing. So there is nothing called success or failure. But if I have to say, what are the films that really gave me hard times? I think last 5 years, I mean, all my films gave me hard times. As you know, Meenakshi, that I can't release my films in Bangladesh. And also, I mean, not only Bangladesh, South Asia is growing, is becoming very strict. I don't want to use the word fascist, but it's up to you what you want to use. But I think we're going in the very wrong direction, and which is why I made two of my last films are really struggling. One is Saturday Afternoon, which is banned in Bangladesh, and the other one is No Lance Man, which I have not submitted to any censor board, not in India, not in Bangladesh, because maybe I'm waiting for the right time to submit it because I don't want this to be blocked again. And the fact that I've been suffering for the last 5 years, I decided to do something. I decided to make a film that will reflect this suffering, and which is why I made something like an autobiography, which screened here at the Mami, and I really loved the screening because in the Q&A, audiences, they made me cry 4 times. I said, no more, I can't take it anymore. We have a screening today. Let's see how it goes.
Mr. Prasanna Vithanagi, please.
So Sri Lanka liberalized the economy, I think a decade before India. I'm saying this as a background to the film industry of Sri Lanka. Like Iran and other Soviet bloc countries, the Sri Lankan film industry was completely under the government, and the distribution was done by the government. The theaters were owned by the private people, but the distribution completely under government. But there are good things about it also. My previous generation was able to get a lot of funding from the government, I mean, on the merit of the script. But when I joined the film industry in 1991, in an open economy, they closed this film corporation, like your NFDZ in India, it was functioning but malfunctioning because they couldn't, it was not compatible to work under, let's say, neoliberal and open economic system for the government institutions. So now in Sri Lanka, it's run by oligopoly. Few people are run the distribution. Now it's given to few people. So I come in that, I mean, my base of my filmmaking comes how to cope up with the times. And I don't have to say to you that in Sri Lanka, you may have already, you know that we have been living under 35 years of civil war. Then now, last year, April, Sri Lanka was declared bankrupt. Government declared bankruptcy. So then I don't have to tell more about how low for the film funding. In austerity economic situation, the first thing to get cut in any country is culture. And anywhere you go to work, I mean, when you travel, they say regarding film festival. That's why the Mami and these film festivals are important. They say how it's very difficult to function with the the cuts, funding cuts. So I have been very lucky, I must say, when it's come to India. The Indian Hindi films are not doing so well in Sri Lanka now. Only one person is doing well. I don't have to name the person. Of course, Mr. Shah Rukh Khan. Apart from his,
What about Rajnikant?
Rajnikant is Tamilian, and we have 12% of Sri Lankans speak Tamil language. So naturally, Rajnikant or Vijay or Ajit, those are, I mean, household names, and even other ethnic communities watch their movies. And apart from that, the most challenging thing in my part of the world is hatred. Ethnic communities polarized by the politicians for their ulterior motives, for their vote banks. Now here also, we say it's South Asian Film Festival, but I don't see any films by Pakistan. So you cannot call it South Asian Film Festival. So this is the politics in my country. So it's like it's the George Bush doctrine. If you are with either you are with us or either you are with terrorist. So during in my career, I have made 3 films on the ethnic issues, and luckily I got funding from India, Delhi Film Archive, a group based in Delhi. Documentary filmmaker Rahul Roy and Shrikar Prasad, the famous film editor, and now for my film for Newton Cinema from Cochin. So I have been lucky, but otherwise, at the moment in Sri Lanka, for the young filmmakers, the most difficult thing is funding. So I think it's the cooperation regarding, South Asia. We cannot dream of a European Union. Of course, we know that because of the European Union, how the European countries, there was a resurgence in filmmaking with a single monetary unit. I don't think for Pakistan and India it will be possible in near future, and it affects us also. So whatever we talk, it's when it's come to at least this is good when it's come to the not distribution, but this kind of a cooperation when like creating platform like MAMI, and I hope in other film festivals in India will not politicize. I don't see MAMI politicized. I hope the government film festivals will be not politicized on the ethnic or these on the racial hatred ground. That's it.
I'd just like to mention here that there was a recent Bombay High Court ruling which actually said that, I forget the exact words, but it was an extraordinary, insightful, and intelligent interpretation which said that we cannot that nationalism doesn't rely on hatred. It can be, you can be generous and you can look at collaborations and look at harmony, specifically in view of Pakistani artists, etc. So it's very interesting that the judiciary has given such an initiative, and really I would like to acknowledge that. But also, I don't know, I can't really see everyone in the audience, so there's also been a recent a collaboration between Z and Applause, which is actually looking at, is there anyone here from there? Can you please, please stand up and tell us your names and so we can acknowledge you. I can't see, please stand up. Which is actually looking at producing films in and from South Asia, which is really a wonderful private initiative. Please stand up and share your names. And please stand up, we'd really like to acknowledge it. Tell us your names. Okay, and thank you. Please give them a big hand because this is what this festival is also aiming for, to look at artists from the subcontinent. So thank you for that. Gurvinder, would you like to share your career experiences, please?
I come out of the Film Institute in 2000, and I think it was a period. I think it was a nowhere. It was a nowhere period. We were nowhere. The parallel cinema was dead. The great, all the, it was. They were almost finished making films. The Benegals and Ketan Mehtas, and my own teacher Manikal. He had, I don't know. It was a long time since he made his last film. So, and then the television was ruled by the Saas Bahu serials. So it was a very depressing phase we came out in, and we didn't know what to do. And the digital technology was just very initial. There was no. I was the last batch of FTI which trained just in analog technology. So and after that the digital was ignored. I had never seen a digital camera, even in the institute, and but then I felt I was deeply interested in photography, and I always wanted to be a cinematographer actually. And but not having a science background, I landed up doing direction. So I was like, I said, okay, I will study in FTI direction, then go back to do cinematography without training in cinematography. And I felt that cinematography didn't need any training, the kind of, because I was very influenced by photojournalism, And so I felt I don't need any training for that. I don't want to do these big budget films which need lots of equipment, lights, heavy generators, and all that. So I just picked up a camera and I started making films. Just bought a camera, and I thought there was no other way, Learned non-linear editing myself. First time saw a Mac. First time edited on the Final Cut Pro. Everything learned from friends, even using a camera, and then just kept working. Luckily, I had grants to travel in Punjab, document the oral traditions. So being from Delhi, and then coming face to face with the rural Punjab, with the subaltern, with the with the oral traditions, and I always wanted to be a documentary filmmaker, and I was simply not interested in fiction filmmaking. But then something happened, after 7-8 years of making these, small budget documentaries, which were funded from here and there, working for NGOs, I felt, I was hitting a kind of a dead end. And documentary in terms of form is very liberating. But then I felt, if I wanted to see the other side, I wanted to explore the formalism. I would not use the word formalism, but say get into a more kind of a narrative, experimental cinema, which stemmed from a lot of my understanding of film theory or from filmmakers whom I had admired, like Bresson, Ozu, Tarkovsky. I needed to do a different kind of practice now, And luckily, I was in touch with Mr. Manikal, who was my mentor. I'm very fortunate to have him as a teacher, and I will say that if today I'm making films, it's only because of him and nobody else. Yeah. So to have a teacher who can inspire you, who can, in fact, one day I almost told him on the phone that I want to quit filmmaking and I want to do something else. And I paint also, so I thought I'll take my painting more seriously and quit filmmaking. He just listened to me very patiently, and he said, theory and practice are like two wings of a bird. So that was it. And I think just within a few days, I started writing the screenplay of Anne Ghudadadan, which was a novel which I had read when I was in the institute. And thanks to him, and also I would really like to thank the National Film Development Corporation, who's NFDC at that time, who were coming up with this new initiative of relaunching regional cinema. Debut films of filmmakers making films in regional cinema. It was a great initiative which just restarted at that time, thanks to Nina Lath Gupta, actually. That's one name we cannot miss here, Yeah. So Manikal and Nina Lath Gupta were the two people who kind of, were instrumental in getting this film made. Mani saw the potential, and, thanks, I would like, and unfortunately, he passes away when I just finished shooting the film, and he never got to see the film. But yes, so that was the first film. Deepti was the first person to see it at the NFDC office with Marco Müller, who was the director of the Venice Film Festival at that time. And yes, the film did well. It went to a lot of festivals. It got me a lot of financial awards, which was a big, thing at that time. That, for me, it was like I had never seen that kind of money in my life. So suddenly I felt so confident that, you could live by making this kind of, not sad, but you can survive by making a kind of radical cinema, and it has its own space in this universe. Maybe not a lot of audience, but it definitely has its space, backing. And then I went to make Chauthi Koot, which was an Indo-French co-production. And I would like to thank Catherine Dussart again, here, a person who has, supported art house cinema. Somebody like Riti Pan has made all his films with Catherine Dussart. And Catherine Dussart, I just walked into a party at a Hong Kong Film Festival and just said, here's my script and here's a DVD of the film I had made. And that's it, that was it. And 10 days I get a mail, I like the script, let's do the film. So that's how Chothikut got initiated. And again, NMDC participated in it. And then, yes, so now I'm making films with kind of more private support. Bobby Bedi has produced my previous 2 films. In Achani Raat, he got some big names like Manmohan Shetty to back the film. So it's just a kind of a group of friends who pulled in little money to make the film. But the challenge remains distribution. Distribution remains a big challenge, especially for somebody like me who's making films in a regional language which does not have any art house. I mean, you are lucky, to be making, at least you are making films in Bangla, which has a great long tradition, from Ray or whatever. So, so Yudhajit is here, he's a young filmmaker from FTI whose short film went to Cannes. So, I feel, that is, you belong to a tradition. I didn't belong to any tradition, and nobody had heard of, and some critic in a Punjabi press wrote one day after watching Anevada, and then finally Punjab has a Satyajit Ray. I said, no, you don't understand Ray if you're calling me Ray. And neither you understand my film. So yeah, the challenge remains, even, my last film, Achani Raat, the OTTs are simply not taking it because it's a Punjabi film. If it was in Hindi, they would have blindly taken the film. So it's like, they will show they will show B grade, C grade Punjabi films, which are, the kind of cinema with just, which is nothing but a series of jokes, which are also mostly patriarchal and misogynist. They will show that cinema on Netflix and Amazon, but they will not take my film. That is a serious, I think critique of. So OTT, when everybody was like, when yes, Chothikut was in Netflix, but then you don't have those many views. So 3 years later, you are taken off. Same was with Ane Godadan. They don't repeat your film after that. We really felt, with OTT, we had a distribution platform, and we could, and this was a new platform to, a new medium to showcase our films. But then, I feel like we are back to square one, the filmmakers of the new wave used to complain that there's no distribution in dedicated theaters. Now we complain that the OTTs don't take our films or don't pay that much. They pay, I'm sorry to say, take some names, but Mubi has offered to take my films, but the kind of money they're offering, it's a shame, Sorry, Mubi, but I'm taking this name here, but you really, we cannot sell, no producer will sell the film for that kind of an amount, which they offer. And
sorry, I just want a little clarity on a very important and sensitive issue, which in a way actually is language fascism. But I wanted to ask you, is this something that you understood by a discussion with them, or an assumption that because it wasn't in Hindi, with whoever you spoke to for streaming, that you felt that because it was Punjabi, it's...
No, no, it's not. There's no direct conversation, and the conversation is always through an agent. That's another issue, So what is the conversation the agent is having with the OTT? We don't know. We are not in the picture anywhere. But there is no other reason,
Even for next Mami.
There was a case where Amazon had taken an Odia film, and suddenly they realized that Odia is not supposed to be on their list of films, and the film was withdrawn after 10 days. This is a case. How can a film not? How can a language spoken by this language of a state not be on the list? So I really, appeal to, through this platform, to do it is to kind of, just have more confidence in the audience, They did, and not just be driven by numbers, or. So there's just simply lack of. They think, the Punjabi audience will not watch my film. I think everybody will come on board and watch the film, And there's a huge, a diaspora audience also, which they can reach. So why not? What is the reluctance? And and these are small budget films. We are not like asking for 20, 30 crores, We're asking for maybe 2, 3. So, and success and failure, I think I have yet to make a film which is successful, and I'm yet to make a film which is failure. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I just also wanted to take up a point from what Govinda just shared. This is really ironic and tragic because in this one country alone, we make films in 55 languages and dialects in one country, which is way more than the film languages of the whole of the European Union subcontinent, which speaks of so much richness of storytelling in this country, but also for very splintered regional markets, which of course is a challenge to cross. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Gurvinder. Nabin Dai, would you like to share your insights, please?
Yeah, thank you, Meenakshi. First of all, please bear with my English. Um, as Faruqi said that, we are also very much influenced by Bollywood and, pressurized by Bollywood in market-wise and, in each and every aspect. But yeah, as he said that in India, there was a parallel movement, and we also educated, watching Bollywood films, parallel and both kind of films. And when I joined the industry, during that time in Nepal, most of the Nepali films were copied from Bollywood films, like 2 or 3. Like the producer will come and give you 3 cassettes, and okay, from here and from here, just copy it and paste it and make it something like that. So I have also worked on those kind of films as a assistant director. So one scene was there. I think the bad guy will come and the maid will, police the shoe police. She used the floor and he sleeps. So that was the scene I have to copy, for on that film, and we we thought, we are creative, so why not, instead of that, let's do a mustard, some the house maid is
Cooking.
not cooking, but she is, what do you call it? That she is doing the mustard thing, mustard, cooking. So he spill it and he will come. That he said, no, we need that safe chain, something like that. So then, that 1990, as Faruqi said, that happened in Nepal also. The democracy re-established, and we have this aspirations to tell our stories. I belong to one indigenous group, which is not in mainstream. So I want to tell my story. And fortunately, I got chance from Nepal television to, direct one small film on my own language, Limbu language. But, we just, after the democracy established, the bureaucracy was the same and everything was same. It took me 6 months to get censored because of the language. So after that,
This is English subtitle days?
yeah. And then it aired, and some of friends liked it, and one of my friend, his name is Sundar Joshi. Now he lives in US, and he came. Okay, let's do another project. It's about mountaineers. So it's I think 1995, 94. I made this film on mountaineers, and I didn't know there is a festival or there's this kind of thing, during that period. And we finished that, and we'll do some charity screenings, and we get back the money like that. It's very small film. It was a very small film, around 5,000 US dollars, something like that. So one day, one of the producer, he himself a climber, climbed Everest twice, and he came and he gave me one leaflet. Okay, here's the leaflet. You send the film here. And I read it. It was a festival, and okay, why not? Let's send it. So I sent that film to a mountain film festival in Italy. It's called Trento, Italy. Yeah, and it got selected. I didn't know that it will select it. It will be, So it's selected, and we went there. So, and the screening was there. We attended the screening, and we were first time, my producer, me, and another friend of ours went there for first time in Europe. Who will, stay in the festival? We went to travel around Rome and here and there, and when we back, and there's some, buzz about our film, and it got mentioned there, and suddenly, one archive, Torino archive, from Torino archive, one guy came and he wanted to archive the film, and I said, okay, just do it. You just copy and do it. And my producer asked him, is there possibility to sell it? Oh, is it going to sell here? And we went to, and he introduced us to one that they distribute films on VHS during that time, VHS. So we went there, and he said that no, I haven't watched it or something like that. And so, but a guy near standing there must be a critic or somebody. He said that you just his language, through his body language, I understand that. Yes, he's saying buy it, something like that. And he said, okay, go around and you come back. And when I come back, and he said that, okay, do you have a time for a coffee? Then the business deal happened. So it was, distributed in Italy in home video. So then I realized, okay, film can be, film can go to the festivals, and it can be also sold. So why not? Let's make a bigger film. Then I started this Numafung. It's called a Numafung, and that was, by the way, that was the first film that went International Film Festival from Nepal. Yeah. It's in 1996, and then we have done this Numafung. To raise the money, quite it's challenging. I put myself, my money also there, and luckily I went to my community. It's on my community also, and I went to my community and asked them if there anybody who have money or something like that. So I went to this do this project, and one British Army from he worked at British Army, and he came and he said that, okay, I have some money, I want to put for the community. This money, so here is the money, you go and make it. So it happened like that, Numafung, and then I realized there is a festivals and this thing, but I didn't know the festival politics that time, it should be a world premiere or this kind of that kind. I didn't have any knowledge of that. So Aruna ji asked me.
Aruna Vasudev, who also founded the Ocean Film Festival.
Ocean Film Festival. She asked me, okay, I sent the film and they selected, and I came here, and it went to several festivals, and it went to Fukuoka, then it went to some European festivals. And what was my, it's quite difficult because there is some money already invested. So we needed to get back that money. But what I thought was maybe I can do a charity screening in my community. Like there is in Nepal, there are, the community lives in 19 cities. So I can raise 19 lakh, something like that. My strategy was like that. And some
from the community in different cities in Nepal.
Yeah,
Limbu community.
Limbu community.
Wow.
So then it went to abroad, like in Hong Kong and in some European countries also. When I went to the festival, and during that time I used to screen in with the diaspora Nepali people. So we went to Visual.
France,
in France, yeah. We went there, and we got a jury award there for Numafung. And I was doing some small screenings, same kind of screenings in diaspora. And we went to, I went to Switzerland, and I didn't know that guy, And the place also, and a friend of mine was, organizing all this event. And she said that, okay, there are some people, they are coming from 70 kilometers, 80 kilometers from far away or something like that. And it was a very small venue like this, and the guy was he himself, yeah, giving a ticket and selling a tea and this thing and that thing, and he watched the film there, and after watching, he finished the screening. He came to me and, do you have time for lunch? Lunch? Okay, why not free lunch? And I said yes, and that was the another yeah, he distributed in
Can
Europe.
you share the names of some of them?
Trigon Films.
From
Yeah,
Switzerland.
that film. And that guy said that because I earn money from Lagan, so I'm putting that money to you. Something like that. So it started like that. And yeah, and between, because, I don't know how to use the word, maybe dominance, Bollywood dominance is so, so strong there. So only few people we were making different, our local were working on our local issues, local stories, telling local stories. So I thought maybe I should some more time to encourage young filmmakers. So I spent more 5 or 6 years for that. We started an indigenous film archive. We trained a lot of filmmakers. Now they are very successful in mainstream and even in doing art house cinemas. Yeah, then
So I'll pause you for a moment. So Nabinda has had not only this indigenous filmmakers archive, he also has an indigenous film festival. So this is like, I find very generous because many of them have actually nurtured other filmmakers as well who in theory would be competitors to them, but their generosity also for Chabial and so many of you nurturing younger filmmakers so that there's a larger movement that goes forward. So I'd like to acknowledge
yeah,
that.
and after a few years spending there, I realized that it's not my work. I'm a filmmaker. I have to tell my story. So
Would
then,
you like to tell us about this recent success, because it's extraordinary really, of
yeah,
Gawa
then
Kobato?
I produced with my friend who organized one screening in Denver, I think. A Nepali guy works in IT, and he came back and he said that let's make a film. So uh, we have done that Goodbye Kathmandu, which was in Busan, Kim Ji-suk Award. Uh, so it also won a NetPark in Kolkata. But yeah, we couldn't release that in Nepali theaters. Then during that time, I came to, when I'm coming back, I visited Hong Kong and I met Ahmad. Ahmad was working on minorities issues and educations, and he is very fond of, how to tell our own stories to global audience. So we sit together. And by the way, the Goodbye Kathmandu was crowdfunded film. Then when I met him, and we were working in the same that idea. It's a crowdfunding, but based on the community now. Then the idea we nurtured, and it's a crowd, not a crowdfunding, we say a community funding, because the community, the story, wherever belongs, we go to that community and ask for the money, and they will invest little, like in this, which is playing today too.
Road to a Village.
Yeah, Road to a Village, like from US 20, 25, UK, some, all the
Can you give us a
diaspora.
little clarity on maybe the specific budget for this, or you or Amod? Because this is really a very special, to me, kind of funding, which is community funding. So I think it's the Limbu and the Rai communities
Yeah.
in Nepal and our, non-resident Nepalis all over the world, specifically from these communities, and open because it's a story about that community. So it's not government funding, it's not French and European and US
Yeah.
money, it's not even Nepali, but more regional and community specific. And it has, I mean, he clearly explained that there's a long history of that community funding, which is a very interesting way to look at producing films, which you don't really explore fully in this country, I feel. I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. And also, I'd just like to quickly mention, Noma Fung that he mentioned, it's not it's not a mishti film. It's talking about really about how deeply patriarchal that community
Yes,
is.
yes, yeah.
It's criticizing how they treat women and the misogyny. So it's really criticizing the community,
Yeah.
and yet you raise money from that community. So
Yeah.
it's really remarkable, I find.
Yeah.
So please give this a big hand to this kind of funding,
Thank you.
and also to Amod Rai, who is supporting this Gawai Ko Bato. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah. Thank
Is
you.
there anything you want to add, or this is basically?
Yeah.
Tell us about this last film, which is really special to have three big festivals, and it's taking really Nepali cinema to
It's
on a big
actually,
global scale.
I like to thank you for,
It's like
yeah,
Busan and
because, yeah, I used to make a joke that, uh, Indian people loves me, but we're not against India, but, the filmmaking itself, the system. So we're fighting for that that thing. Like in Nepal, it's quite impossible to release our films
yeah,
because the all big star films they get a chance there to,
yeah,
but we don't get that, you know.
or space for your own
Space for
cinema. Yeah, yeah.
like when we released Numa Phung, during that time there was a system of rollover, like you need a 60% occupancy on audiences. So what we have done is we went to a community, again to the community, and the community supported. They
Wonderful.
sell the ticket and they came, and 60% they fulfill the 60%.
This is wonderful. So it's
Yeah.
community produced and community
Yeah.
attended. This is
Yeah,
fantastic.
and
Like it's a
it,
complete circle by
yeah,
itself.
and yeah, and we have a school organizations called a PEPSON. They send a student every day,
Love.
300
Oh,
students or something like that.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, the challenge is how to release, because my previous film I couldn't release in theaters, Goodbye Kathmandu. But fortunately, I hope we
This
will
is
be able
changing
to,
now.
yeah, distribute
Thank you
this
for
one.
sharing that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Please give a big hand for this. Um, because I really don't know of any system that's actually, this is completing the circle, right? Funding and distribution and exhibition and finding an audience. So it's, I think especially our smaller neighbors in the region are just forced to be much more resilient and inventive. And this is how they've had fantastic careers and nurtured the community going with them despite pressures of Hollywood, Bollywood, South Indian cinema, your like Bengali stars dominating. So there's a lot of pressures from many sides. And so one last quick kind of round robin, and then I throw it open. Really, it's to what are the contemporary challenges? What is the way out actually? So there are difficult to get theatrical release for independent films. Streaming platforms have all kinds of complicated things which have come up in this discussion. What is a practical way forward? There's a dream situation, okay, everyone comes to see independent. That's not going to happen. What do you think is a practical way out, and what advice would you give young filmmakers in the audience? Starting with you.
As I think everybody said, but also what Gurvinder said is the fact that it's, I mean, to put it mildly, it's a bit of a shit show when it comes to indie distribution, theatrical and in streaming. The streamers are in what they call a growth phase. Therefore, they want to be able to have as much content as they want, as can end up getting numbers, and those numbers will then translate to something. And we just don't have the screens to be able to sustain independent cinema in this country. Unfortunately, that's your per screen per. I think it's like 100,000 people for. It's an absurd number. It's crazy when you compare it to the US or Europe. And so even if you look at your performances of your big films, I mean, a Jawan is celebrating 50 days in the cinema. 50 days. I mean, come on. I mean, like till 20 years ago, we were talking about 50 weeks. You know, like it's not even it's what is this discussion? The indie films are even the most successful ones, and from my experience, I remember the fact that even in 2010, that Udan actually was in its 8th week running at Regal, and for me that was like a huge victory. It was like, wow, 8th week. But fast forward 5 years later, and Masan, which actually did well in the theaters, was still out in 3 weeks, and Newton was out in 3 weeks. You know, and these are the successes. These are not the ones that will go and try. Most of the time you get a weekend, you get a week at most. There's no, your exhibitors will not give you, they will want you to guarantee the fact that you will not go to streaming for 8 weeks, but they will not guarantee you even a minimum number of screens. So it is very, very hard to distribute. Then you need marketing money, then you need all that kind of stuff. And it's the same with the streamer. So I think what does, and again, this is a much longer discussion, which I think it's reached a bit of a crisis point as to like what one can do. I've seen some wonderful films this year and in the last 3 years coming out of India specifically. Tragically, none of those will actually get a release, and that is the tragedy here. I think a lot of it needs. We don't have state support. We need high net worth individual support. We need people to sort of come out there and make the films. I mean, those people also back the distribution of the films. You need some. It's the way A24 works for the Indian for indie cinema, and the fact that there is a brand name associated with that, which can then sort of guarantee the fact that you may not know the filmmaker, you may not know the genre, but the A24 name gives you. That's something that in the past, whether it's been a Fox Searchlight, it's been a Neon, it's been Janus Films, there's been so many great movies where you've seen the stamp of a distributor, an exhibitor, or a producer that actually gives you that. Who is that today for indie cinema here right now? There's nobody, and there's no single person, there's no unit that can sort of like go and push that. I think that is one very definite need. But also whether it needs, whether in like New York, for example, whether you have, we don't even have the sort of like theaters, even if it's a small numbers, just those specialty cinemas, your Alamo draft houses, or your what once upon a time would, I don't know, here be, even, I mean, Enlightened tried it with Deepak Cinema, but something that basically sort of gives you that little niche distribution that can build from there, at least start something that can then build up, but if you don't, if you don't even have one, how can you even get to 10, So, that I think would be a first step.